Hello and welcome to Start, Grow and Monetise Your Podcast with him, Alex Chisnall, the podpreneur, and me, James Burtt. We are your guides, as always, in your podcasting journey. Today on the pod, we are talking all about, can you start a podcast for free? That's right. You might have the deep founded desire that you want to make this thing. You're desperate to bring this content to the world, but you're worried. You're concerned about, I haven't got enough of a budget. I heard that Stephen Bartlett's got 30 people on a team. I heard that he's got 50 people who are doing data science. How much is it going to cost me? How many cameras do I need? Do I need to use a studio? Fear not, my friends, because if you've got good quality content, then people will listen for the quality of that content, not the quality of the recording. And yes, you can do it for free. Is it best practice? Probably not. But will it get you up and running, get started and get perfect later? Absolutely. So we're going to talk all about that today on the pod. We're going to talk about how to record for free, hosting platforms that are free, how to leverage free software and apps to record and to publish your episodes, and also the challenges and limitations of the free options and how to overcome them by spending just a few quid.
And I'll give you an example to kick this off.
Please do.
So, as James said, yes, you can 100% absolutely start a podcast for free. Could you grow it and monetize it for free? Another question entirely. But 100% you could do it. Would you want to do it? I would say no. But I'll give you an example of someone who has done that. And without naming any names, it is the founder of a $100 million beauty brand who I interviewed for my podcast. And she had this will show you again like the quality. She was literally recording on her mobile phone using the free app to literally hit the red button that says record audio on her phone. And she was using it because she was going around the world and meeting extraordinary people, and she wanted to capture those conversations. It was the easiest way to do that. She was like, well, I could just chuck my phone in my handbag, clip on mic, free app, which would even edit it, i.e., and I remember trialing this, you can literally just move the dots on the screen in front of you. She was interviewing people like, whatever her name is, Kardashian, youngest billionaire in the world. You know, that was
Kendall.
Yeah, people like that.
Wow.
She was like heading her beauty campaign. So she's like, I'm meeting, people who could have an incredible reach on my podcast. I don't want to overcomplicate things. I'm going to do it this way. That's what she did. She might still be doing it for this date, for all I know. But is the quality where you want it to be?
But there you go. For all I know, if it was doing the right things, you would know if she was doing it or not. So therefore, even if she's doing it, she's done one of two things. She either had pod fade, so she's not doing it anymore, or if she's still doing it, it's of little significance that you're not seeing it popping up all over the place, which shows that actually doing it for free might be the thing that gets you started, but isn't going to get you the thing that's going to get you the massive results further down the line potentially.
Yes, and I say, if you want to start a podcast, and the easiest way for you to get up and running is to literally use your phone or jump on a Zoom call with somebody and press record button on that. If that's the easiest way for you to actually start a podcast, then 100% do it. Should that be the long-term strategy that then grows and monetizes your podcast? No, but to get started, just don't let perfect equipment be the thing that stops you starting your podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. Because when me and you started in 2017, I think you started the same sort of time. I'd been looking at podcasting since 2012. In those days, there wasn't Zoom. It wasn't as commonplace. You didn't do online meetings. You would have to, it was Skype back in the day. That's right. Dial-up internet, Skype. I remember I had, because I used to do stuff on the radio, so I had like a little Vox Pop, record a Vox Pop, for those who don't know, is like when you just like randomly interview somebody on the street, kind of what Simon Scribbs made popular now with his TikTok channel. But back in the day in radio, you'd go up and you'd like doorstep people and you'd ask them, hey, the government said this, what do you think? We've asked 15 people on the street what they thought. That's called a Vox Pop. So I had one of those little recorders. So I used to record that next to the speaker of Skype, just to see if I could get the audio quality to be even a little bit better. But these days, the point of going down that weird rabbit hole, these days you don't need to do that. Everyone and their dog is used to using Zoom. Mm-hmm. They will use Teams. They will use Riverside. They will use one of these platforms that you can use either for free or for very, very little money, and you can get a really good quality. For example, there's a great podcast called My First Million. I'm a big fan of that show. I listen to it every single week. I don't think they've ever done an episode in person. It's always been done remotely, because one of them lives in New York, I think, or Austin, and the other one lives in San Fran.
Right.
So they're not in the same room together. They're never in the same place together. So they record it on Riverside. And if you look at it, it looks banging. Okay, now they've obviously got good quality cameras, they've got good quality microphones, they've got good backlighting and stuff. But really, for less than like $1,000, they've got an amazing show that is probably making them hundreds of thousands of dollars per year now because of the reach of it. And it's still not costing them a fortune. But you could, again, if you've got a MacBook or you've got a laptop and you've got Zoom, you could start your podcast for free of charge. You absolutely could. In terms of so that's the recording side of things. Now you might go, well, I want to do it in person. So then there is a need, I would say, for some equipment. But again, it doesn't have to cost you a fortune. But as your example there was, you can press voice notes in your phone and put your phone in the middle of the table. That is quite a good recorder. The iPhone with the little built-in iPhone headphones is actually really good quality. It sounds fantastic.
When I switched up my podcast to go from recording online to recording in person, and I would come up to London, and I bought, as we evidenced in a previous equipment episode, the Zoom H6, completely different company called Zoom, but makes physical recorders, audio recorders. I would take that, and it's like, for those of you who can remember, an old analog phone, so the same size as like a big iPhone, but probably 5 times the thickness, maybe even 6 times the thickness, but pretty light, really. Comes with its own little case. I'd literally chuck that in my rucksack, chuck a couple of mics that cost me 40 quid each for a Shure mic. 2 of those, 2 of the cables in. I'll go up to London. I would put that on the table, we'd record the audio. I even remember, it just popped into my head while I was saying that, for one of my first ever clients who didn't want to spend a fortune. They were a not-for-profit, but they wanted to capture the video. So we literally just set up a bunch of iPhones on tripods and captured them on that with a Zoom in the table. And, bit of a juggle with all those little, bits and pieces, recording devices. But ultimately, that was a relatively cheap way of doing it. Zoom H6, 300 quid at the moment, probably off Amazon?
Yeah, probably.
Something like that. Mics, like I say, Shure mics, you can get basic ones, 40 quid each. They can go up, again, next one up, 80 quid probably, next one up, 120 quid, etc. But, as often, you could spend, gazillions on getting the right equipment, but do you need to? Not really.
No, if you've got a good show, and again, like you look at someone like, because I often get pushback. Well, yeah, but how? If you haven't got the right equipment and all that kind of stuff, can you really make a big show? Look at Tim Ferriss.
Yes,
Tim Ferriss is a brilliant podcast. It's been going on for years. I think he's just gone over 1,000 episodes. It has, now don't get me wrong, he'd already written the 4-Hour Work Week. He was already a big deal, but he was one of the first people who really utilised the power of podcasting. And I think he's done 3 or 4 episodes on video ever. I've listened to episodes of him like where he's recording into like a little dictaphone at an airport in Japan because he's stuck. His flight has been stuck coming back and he isn't going to get it in time otherwise. And I listen for the quality of the conversation, not the quality of the recording. Now, of course, you want it to sound as good as it can sound, but people will stick around for good conversations. And then even if you are recording in the cheapest way that you can, like Alex said, you can get yourself a what you call an XLR microphone with a little cable in it for 15 quid. You can get Sennheisers for 15 quid. If you're thinking about getting something for you, like if you're going to use your laptop, for example, you could upgrade and use a Blue Yeti Snowball for $40. Now again, all the podcast purists be going, oh, don't tell anyone to use a Yeti because they're rubbish. They're fine. They're better quality than using the laptop speakers. Are they the best thing? No. Are they cardioid microphones you can control? No, they're not. They're not the best thing, but they are so popular and so cheap that you can get started and then get perfect later.
And that's what we want you to do here, is 100%. Get started.
100%.
We don't want you to be perfect. We don't need you to be a perfect conversationalist, a perfect interviewer, perfect videographer, perfect editor. We just want you to get started, and you can just change things, upgrade as you go, as evidenced by both our journeys. I think we did in the equipment one, started off with a headphone with an arm on it,
headset with
the arm mic, and then a Snowball, and then the Zoom H6, and then I'm in a podcast studio recording. Each is a step on the journey that, as I've grown to love podcasting more, I've wanted to make more of a physical connection with my guest and improve the product ultimately. But I'm not an audio purist. I think, yes, there is a line between what's acceptable and what's not acceptable.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, especially as technology improves and improves. But I do think you can get started for free. But again, I do think if you can spend a few quid, and you know, we can move into now hosting platforms. There are free hosting platforms out there. There are other hosting platforms that will cost you $20, $25, $30, depending on how much bandwidth you want that platform to actually host, how much of your content you want it to host. Anything else that we've given examples on hosting platforms in previous episodes.
Yeah, we've done that in previous episodes. We've also touched on a few of the low cost things on a previous equipment episode. You can go back and check those episodes out as well. They'll be in your feed, or you'll be able to scroll back if you're watching on YouTube and watch that as a previous episode. But just if you are going to go down the as cheap as possible route, even if you went for example, you've just got your laptop, you're going to do it remotely, you're going to use something like Riverside. Riverside has got a bunch of built-in stuff now, so they do magic clips. If you're looking and going, well, I want the promotional clips, then Riverside will do that for you. I think you can it will do audio processing now inside Riverside, so can do that part for you. Riverside is really good quality, and it will record you and it will record your guest in separate feeds, and then you can download those videos and you could use it as a video editor. But again, if you haven't got a video editor, it will also make you a mixed version, which isn't as good quality, but is good enough quality. So you can use that straight away. If you wanted to use something else for the clips, you could use Opus Clip. Again, that starts from free. You can get a free one.
Yeah, and then it's like $5 or $7.
$5, yeah, it's not expensive. You've got CapCut, which is a free app, so you can take those little clips, you can put that into it. If you're thinking, the audio quality is not good enough, again, we mentioned this on a previous episode, but there's a thing called Auphonic, 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 I think it's auphonic.com. or .org. That gives you free 60 minutes of audio processing. You literally upload the MP3 and it does loads of clever jiggery pokery in the back end jiggery pokery to make your audio sound better. So and then like you say, you could put it onto a free platform. The downside of free, and this I think was really highlighted with the evolution when Anchor was a massive app. So Anchor became like one of the most popular apps in the world, or popular hosting platforms in the world, because it was free and because you could do it on your phone and you could add your jingle, but it was pony. It was really not high quality at all, but it got a lot of people started. So when you hear like there's 4 million podcasts, probably half of them were Anchor podcasts that are never really going to exist because it's people just playing around with it. But equally, those that Anchor got bought by Spotify, it's now Spotify for podcasters. We talked about this on another previous episode when we talk about video platforms. But Anchor, Spotify for podcasters, you can upload for free. So yes, in theory, you absolutely could record on your phone. You could record on Riverside for free. You could download that audio, download that video. You could then run it through something like Auphonic, or you could run it through the built-in processors within Riverside, upload it directly to Spotify, and you could have your podcast done for nothing. You could probably you might be thinking, well, I need a podcast artwork. Again, you could go onto Fiverr, Fiverr.com. You can get someone to make it for you for a $5. If you're too tight to spend a $5, I bet if you Google free AI image generation, I bet you could put in your specifics around the podcast artwork, and then you can get that done as well. So you could really can get started for free. And what Alex said, start now, get perfect later. And exactly, I cannot agree with it more. When I started in podcasting, I couldn't have afforded anything more than the equipment that I had. I couldn't have gone and spent 150 quid on a studio like we're sat in now per hour. I couldn't have spent, I remember the first time I bought a Rodecaster Pro and it was 550 quid. I was like, oh my God, it's like a bloody fortune. And then the microphone, I remember the first time I had to buy cameras, I'm like, oh my God, I spent $2,000 on 3 cameras. I was like, oh, but I'd got to that level. I was already making money from podcasting by starting it for free. Start now, get perfect later.
Yeah.
I've stunned him into silence.
You have. No, that's it. I think that's literally it. We've covered it off 100%. Yeah.
Wicked. Well, if you have been thinking, I want to start a podcast, but I haven't got the money to do it, that excuse has just evaporated. It's gone. You need to get your podcast started now. Start now, get perfect later. And by the way, even if you're just going to do a test recording, just do the thing, right? Because so often It's once you start taking action, the path to the goal that you want to create will reveal itself. But you have to take that first step, sometimes in blind faith, to get to the outcome that you ultimately want to get to. So do not let costs, tech, challenges with finances stop you, because you can really start a podcast for free. If you've enjoyed this episode, please feel free to leave us a 5-star review wherever you download your podcast. You want more information, if you're like, yep, I'm in, I want to take this podcast thing to the next level, feel free to join us in Pod School. There's a link in the show notes. There's a link in the show description if you're watching on YouTube, and you can join us over there. It's free. There are webinars, Q&As, there's documents, guides. There's a community of podcast creators over there. You can join us for free in Pod School for more information on subjects just like this. But from me and from him, we'll see you on the next episode. Ta-da!